Well, happy Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or whatever day it is that you're getting around to this Devo. Hope that your week has gone well. We got some new snow. I'm sure many of you are hoping for some more soon so you can do those outdoor activities that you love to do in the winter. Even I, who's not a huge outdoor enthusiast in the winter, am ready for some more snow to be able to put on some skis or to snowshoe or do some of those things that we do here in the Northwoods. Before I go into what I want to talk about today, I just want to again say thank you for all of the outpouring of support that you've shown to my family and I as we mourn the loss of my father-in-law, Jenny's dad, Willie. Just a good time together with the family to bond as we remember and think about and are grateful to God for the life that he lived around us. And so I'm just really thankful for all of you. Again, as I stated on Sunday, you guys mean a great deal to us. You're our friends. You've made us part of this community here at Faith these past 8 years, and even the greater community here in the Minocqua and Woodruff and Arbor Vitae area. We're just really grateful for our friends here, and so thank you for that. If you were here Sunday or watching online, you know that we started a new series on the book of 1 Peter, written, of course, by Peter, one of Jesus's closest disciples, one of the inner three, and we're the theme or the title that we're using for the series is called Basic Survival, and it's a look at what life was like in the early church, whether you were a Gentile convert or a Jewish convert to Christianity. They faced many, many trials from the Roman government, from their local communities, even for those Jewish folks who left the religion they had known, had probably family disagreements and those types of things, and just a lot of hardship. They were living in the midst of it, and Peter wanted to encourage them about what life in Christ looks like. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but one of the things that we didn't talk a lot about, and that came to mind for me as I was thinking about this series, is something that I would actually pose to you to kind of frame it in a little bit for us, and that is, have you ever let someone down? You fell short of the expectations that they had for you, or you said you would do something and for whatever reason you just couldn't pull it off. Maybe you said you'd do something and you didn't want to do something, and they could see that you chose something else rather than them. There's lots of ways that could play out. Maybe you've been the one that has been let down, so you can relate. But what so often happens in these situations where we've let someone down is we feel a sense of shame, right? Where we or remorse or regret. We wish we would not have, or we wish we would have followed through on whatever that might be for you. And then naturally, within the way human beings typically operate, is what happens is distance, right? Intentional or unintentional. When someone lets us down, what happens most often is distance in the relationship. What was once a close relationship, perhaps, starts fading away because the issue had never been resolved, because the person doesn't trust anymore, whatever that might be. Maybe the person who did the letting down just doesn't know what to say. And so we typically would experience distance. I would guess you have a relationship or two that comes to mind that fits that scenario. I know I do. And I say all this because we need to talk a little bit about Peter. Peter, as I mentioned earlier, one of the closest three to Jesus, one of the ones that saw him do so much. He was the guy who got to walk on water, invited by Jesus to come to him out on the sea. And Peter had those first few steps, as you likely know. He was the one who got to experience it. He was the one who saw, among the disciples, of course, too, but saw miracles, saw Jesus perform those, saw the way Jesus lived his life. And in so doing, came to the conclusion that Jesus must be the promised Messiah. In fact, Jesus asked his disciples, who do people say I am? And then who do you say I am? And Peter famously said, you're the Messiah. And so that close relationship that had been developed by the two of them. And in the midst of that, Jesus tells this man who who knows that Jesus is the Messiah, you'll deny me 3 times. And Peter looks at him that he's crazy. He would never do that. Not strong-willed Peter. He would never let down Jesus. And of course, you know the story that Peter does that. John tells us that, especially how exactly Peter unravels there after Jesus has been arrested, after Peter had cut Malchus's ear off, and now he's in the courtyard. And 3 different times he escalates in his denials. On the 3rd one, it says he calls down curses on the people and probably said some curse words to acknowledge he knew nothing of this man Jesus. But then later on, after Jesus has died and resurrected and shown himself to the disciples and many others as well, he pulls Peter aside, knowing what Peter has most likely gone through, knowing the human tendency for distance when we've let someone down. And he asks him 3 times, essentially, Peter, do you love me? Do you love me more than these? And Peter's response each time is, of course I love you. You know I love you. And Jesus essentially says 3 different ways, feed my sheep. And he wants him to know that he knows what Peter's been going through. He wants him to know that he still loves Peter, that he still wants him to lead his people. And that's exactly what happens. You see, the response that Peter has is what this book is all about the forgiveness that Jesus has shown to him, about his unwillingness to allow distance to happen between the 2 of them. And its response is a life following Christ. Now, Peter was still Peter. He still made mistakes. We read about Paul saying about a disagreement between the 2 of them, and Peter's mistake with hanging on to some of the Jewish customs. Wasn't perfect, but his life changed for the better after this. The response was a life of following Christ. In this book, 1 Peter will show us time and time again what that changed life in Christ looks like. I look forward to going on this journey with you in the next couple months. If you would, be praying for our students. Here at Faith, there's going to be almost 100 students, another 20 or so leaders, so we're excited to be able to take that. But as you can imagine, that's a lot of lives that we're hoping would draw nearer to Christ. That they would have a great time of growth together, bonding as friends as well. Pray for all the 4,200 some people that we're going to be at districts this year. God is going to do great things. That's our desire and hope and trust. So again, covet your prayers this weekend. Thanks a bunch for the time with you today. Have a great week.